Come in, Gary, come in. I understand you've got a pitch for me today based on a children's book, and I could not be more delighted to hear this news. Adaptations are huge these days, and no market is bigger than kid stuff. You know why? Merchandise. Look at Cars, Gary. If Pixar movies were members of the Wu-Tang Clan, Cars would be You God. And yet, it gets a sequel this summer because kids will buy anything with those characters slapped on it. Did the Wu-Tang reference surprise you? I'm a man of many interests, Gary. What's your movie called?
It's called Here Come the Blobbies.
Here Come the Blobbies. Not just the title of a movie, but a warning to every parent in America. Here come the Blobbies, Mom and Dad. Either buy them, and buy them often, or raise your children to be mocked and ostracized. It's your choice. I love it.
The Blobbies come from Blobby World, where every grain of sand, every gust of wind, and every drop of water can feel, talk, and smile.
Wonderful, Gary. You've constructed a nightmare dimension of sentient wind. What you're telling me is that on Blobby World, the slightest physical act disrupts millions and millions of other beings that can feel and talk. A romantic walk on the beach for our anniversary, dear? I'd love to, but the mood might be slightly ruined by the tortured death rattle of every single grain of sand shrieking out in pain as our footsteps snuff out their precious life. Sit on the porch with a glass of wine instead? Gee, that would be nice, but the pleasant breeze blowing just won't shut up, and from the comments he makes, I get the feeling that he's kind of a pervert. Lie silently in bed together as we take too many painkillers and drift off to our respective deaths in order to escape the never-ending hellscape that is Blobby World? Now you're talking, honey.
It is ruled by the elemental Blobbies.
Ah, so fire, earth, water, and air then.
Blobby Fire.
Earth, water, and air.
Blobby Earth.
Water and air.
Blobby Water.
And air.
Blobby Air.
We got it, Gary.
And Blobby Void.
Blobby Void? What is Blobby Void? Is he the Blobby responsible for what your bowels did all over this stack of papers, resulting in this so-called screenplay?
7 new Blobbies in the colors of the rainbow, called Blobby Colors, are created by Blobby Fire and given strict orders not to wake up the eldest, Blobby Void.
Gary, though it seems like an eternity has passed since you entered my office, I acknowledge that it has only been 2 minutes or so. But I would like to share with you a fact. During that brief period of time, you have uttered the word Blobby a mind-boggling 13 times! Therein breaking the record for use of the word Blobby in a movie pitch previously held by The Notebook. That screenplay changed a lot during focus groups.
They live and play until Blobby Violet becomes bored with the simple shapes of Blobby World. It persuades Blobby Indigo to help it go back into space and wake up Blobby Void, whom they believe will teach them new shapes.
Because if you're going to learn shapes, where else to turn than Blobby Void? Perhaps we should pull the Berenstein Bears learn shapes off the shelf, Blobby Violet? I hear that Brother Bear and Sister Bear make learning fun. No, my genderless it of a sibling, says Blobby Violet. I feel the best way to learn about shapes is to travel into the darkest depths of space and defy our Creator's sole instruction by awakening the forbidden fountain of knowledge that is Blobby Void.
Unfortunately, as soon as they wake it up, it turns into a portal that lets in evil creatures called hexacones who attack with freezing beams of darkness.
Well, that's really on Blobby Fire, isn't it? Just saying, don't wake Blobby Void isn't going to get any results, but telling the Blobbies, don't wake Blobby Void because if you do, it will immediately turn into a portal to another dimension through which sinister creatures will pass and demolish you and all your loved ones with freezing beams of eternal darkness. Now that is a warning a Blobby might heed. And speaking of warnings, let it be said, Gary, that if this screenplay does not begin to show the slightest hint of anything resembling even the most slack-jawed of competence in the immediate future, the Blobby Void that is my desk drawer will itself open as a portal through which a sinister sock filled with quarters will emerge and attack not with freezing beams of darkness, but with repeated blows to your birthing forceps softened skull!
To save the Blobby Colors, Blobby Void transports them to an obscure planet called Earth.
Okay. So far, this pitch has been a litany of nonsense and garbage, but by putting these awful creatures on Earth, they at least have a chance of befriending a local child. Yeah, a kid who's in need of some help that only the Blobbies can provide, thus setting the stage for some breathtaking special effects, thrilling action sequences, moments that tug on the viewer's heartstrings, and, most importantly, some iconic imagery for the trailer. So what happens on Earth?
While there, the Blobbies learn many new and advanced shapes while reading books in a library.
Damn it, Gary!
Eventually, they decide to return and take on the hexacones.
But Gary, you've left so many questions unanswered. Have the Blobbies returned the John Grisham books they checked out to avoid late fines? Might they take a few moments to browse the periodicals on sale for 50 cents a piece by the entrance to pick up something for the ride home? Do they follow proper logout procedure on the library computer so as not to inconvenience the elderly woman patiently waiting in line behind them? I hope it's all up there on the screen, Gary. Every single moment of the gloriousness that is the Blobbies' library adventure.
Blobby Void brings them back, and they discover that the Hexacone King is carrying the evil hexahedron crystal, the source of their power.
At this point, every parent in the audience is rooting for the Hexacone King to unleash the full power of the hexahedron crystal, destroying the Blobbies. Not immediately, mind you, but through a slow, agonizing death that they, the parents, realize is the only way to destroy this pox of a franchise before it has a chance to poison the youth of the world with any more sequels or merchandise. They believe this is the only way to save the children because they haven't glanced at their child for the duration of the movie. Doubtless this is because they are full of shame that they, the parent, subjected their own offspring to this celluloid carnage. But were they to steal a glance at the young one sitting next to them, they would realize that they do not need to root for the Hexacone King to destroy the Blobbies, for their own child has grimly resigned themselves to the same mission. And though it means the end of their own childhood, they will see to it that the Blobbies, and everyone involved with their creation, especially the screenwriter, Gary, will be met with a fate so terrible that future generations will no longer refer to themselves as humans, forever disassociating themselves with any race that could have perpetrated so vile a genocide as the one carried out against the creative team behind Here Come the Blobbies.
Blobby Green sacrifices himself by turning into a Venus flytrap and swallowing the beams of darkness so the others can blobby morph into hexacones and launch a surprise attack.
It appears the hexacones forgot one very important fact, that Blobby Green can turn himself into a Venus flytrap. Well, two important facts, that Blobby Green can turn himself into a Venus flytrap, and that Venus flytraps can swallow beams of darkness. Well, three important facts. That Blobby Green can turn himself into a Venus flytrap, that Venus flytraps can swallow their beams of darkness, and that Blobbies can do something called Blobby Morph. You know what? Make that four important facts. Everything I just said, and that the screenwriter of Here Comes the Blobbies is a drooling buffoon who slams his cookie dough and spittle-encrusted palms on his keyboard until he's satisfied that the drivel he produced qualifies as a screenplay.
Blobby Indigo wins by blobby morphing into a fire-breathing bat snake and crushing the crystal.
Based on my lack of knowledge of the taxonomy of the fire-breathing bat snake, due to the fact that you just made it up, and despite neither bats nor snakes being known for their desire nor ability to crunch crystals, I'm gonna let this one slide. Why? Because I've just reached into my drawer and grasped my sock full of quarters, and the anticipatory sensation of how it will feel to beat you senseless with it should you top yourself with one more idiotic sentence has filled my heart with a twisted sense of joy. So please, go on, Gary.
Without it, the hexacones are freed from its curse and turned back into ordinary blobbies.
And immediately, truckloads of unsold Blobbies merchandise are instructed to bypass the nearest toy store, where managers armed with rifles await them on the roof. The drivers are told to deliver their cargo directly to the nearest dump. We'll clear out some space next to the Atari ET cartridges, the dump employee says. Just don't let any of that stuff touch me. I want my kids to still love me when I get home. And though I don't personally have any kids that I still speak to, Gary, if I did, I would feel the same way. So before I begin beating you with my sock full of quarters, pause, add several Eisenhower silver dollars for variety, and resume beating you with the newfound vigor of a man doing some serious damage with the largest coin the U.S. Mint has produced in the last 6 decades, I suggest that you, Gary, get the hell out of my office!